So guys, before we start with assembly, there is two modifications that I didn't do while I was doing the assembly. Sorry, I was doing part design. In a connecting rod, there is a hole passing through the connecting bar. Okay, so if you look at this here, so the overall dia is 20, and then there is a hole of 14 dia passing through it. You can see the hidden lines too. Okay, and this I put it in the center. In your isolator I put it in the center, and then 80 and then 2 difference. That is not the case. Okay, we just draw the 80 line and then mark these points, and then there is a difference here, and then there is a height here from the base 62.9 to the center of this circle. Okay, take these two accounts and then do your assemblies correctly. And thank you for one of you for noticing it. File menu new. Here you have got an option called edit list. If you use this edit list, you can by default keep your list to metric, and everything else will be in metric. Okay, so metric assembly. This will look similar to your part design. Okay, but first thing what you need to do is, let me say I closed it. I think I closed it. 1 second. Okay, so if you don't have it, go to view data, view, and here what all things you need, what all options you need. Take parts library. Okay, so by default it will be here only. Like I said, if you have closed it or if you are not able to find it, go to view, here click on parts library, and you get explorer kind of thing, and here you just go and see where you have saved all of your parts. Okay, this is where I have saved all of my parts. I think I tried the assembly, so we'll remove that. So these are your parts where you have saved. Parts library, go to the explorer. If you have saved it in your desktop, go there and find it, or else wherever you have saved it, find all of it. Okay, once done, just make sure you strictly follow the same procedure or the same elements what I follow, because let us say if you put the firewall first and then you want to put all the lugs and then you want to connect it, there might be some errors. Okay, just try to follow the method I go about. Okay, so before that, you guys need to know some explanation here. That is, so assembling is, you will assemble all of these remaining parts to their respective places where they go. Okay, so lug has got a 10 diameter hole, and on the fire plane you have got a 10 diameter hole. Correct. So this lug will go on the firewall. Okay, so this 10 diameter hole will be placed on this 10 diameter hole of the firewall, and so that is where all 4 lugs go. And what about this connecting rod? So this is your connecting rod. Okay, which is at a distance 542.42. Okay, so what this will do is, this will connect 2 lugs. Okay, this will connect 2 lugs. If you calculate all of it properly, so if you place everything correctly, the distance here will be the same. Okay, if you do any mistakes in dimensioning, you won't be able to assemble it because the relation will conflict. Meaning, let us say that the connecting is 254.42, but you somehow made an error and you designed only for 200. That 54 mm you can't compensate anywhere here, so that will come as a gap here. Okay, so while creating parts, make sure that you stick to strictly stick to the dimensions given. In spite of that, there are sometimes errors that happen. Even I faced an error last time. Then we can see any alterations that can be done. Okay, so coming to assembly, first you take your firewall. So this is the first step. First you take your firewall and drag it, and then just leave it. It will automatically sit in the place how it is designed to. Okay, So your baseline was in middle of it, so it is actually sitting on the middle of it. Correct. So if I drew it like, let's say 50 mm above this plane, then it would have come and sat 50 mm above that plane. Okay. So now you placed your firewall. Next is you take your lug. Okay. So even that will come a little away from it. Okay. Now go to your home. Here you've got assembly. Okay. So this assembly will give you how to connect two things. And in assembly, you got other tools in how you want to connect them. Okay. So I'll delete this part. Once you pull and keep the part, it will show in a greenish tint. Okay, that means this part is ready for assembly. So if you click on it, you can observe there is different conditions it is showing. Okay. So now let us say if I click the surface, it is showing a surface a relation. Okay. So if you want two surfaces to contact, then it will show something like this. If you want some axis to correlate with something, then it will show like this. So it is showing axis. Okay. By default, it will be in this mode called flash fit. So flash fit means for the computer to recognize what type of fit you are doing. So if I select on a surface, it will create on a plane planar alignment. If I click on a circular object, it will show the axis arrangement. Okay. So by default, there are different options that you can use, or else if you are not able to find anything but you want to use that option, you can just directly go here and then do it. Okay. So just observe this first one. Before you convert it to green, sorry, before you somebody has a doubt. Okay. So before you convert it to complete solid, just drag and drop it. It will be in green color. Now rotate it, and then first relation what you want is this axis, this 10 centimeter axis particularly. Okay. Okay, see now that is a 10 centimeter axis. Click on that, and then you come to your usual view, and then click on this axis. So it is trying to relate that axis and this axis on a same line. So if I click on it, it will move. Okay. So now both are in the same axis, but you can see the direction we wanted it is wrong. So here you've got an option called flip. Flip it, the direction will set on its own. Okay. Meaning the axis of this circle and the axis of the 10 diameter circle are now on the same axis. So that is why you can see that. See, if you see it from your front view, I think the top view. See, front view, you can see that this hole and that hole are exactly correlated. I mean, they are on the same axis. Okay, that is your axis relation. And now what you do, you want this surface. So click on that surface, zoom out, should be on this surface. Click on it, it will go and fit into that place, whatever you wanted. Okay, got it? First you took the axis relation, and then you took the surface relation. So the axis of that 10 centimeter circle will be equal to the axis on that 10 centimeter circle, and you have fit it, and it has come. Okay, done. And then now you can press escape. Now your solid is it is sitting there. Okay. If at all you want to see, like, let's say I want this arm to be inside it, so it is outside. Correct. You want to move this arm, so whichever direction the degree of freedom is free, you can move it. So if you want to, you can take this drag component option here, click on drag component, then say okay, and then click on your material. Okay, so you get 3 axes there. So if you want to move it on x-axis, so you can move it on x-axis. Okay, I think you can't move it on x-axis. If you want to move it on your y-axis, you can move it on your y-axis. That is the only degree of freedom that is left out so far. And z-axis not possible, x-axis not possible, because it has made the contact surface. The only possible axis is your y-axis. Okay, keep it in an angle that is you desire. So I think the more familiar angle, the more convenient angle for me to keep it is something like this and not something like this. Okay, so keep it in an angle like this. Okay, to make this rotation enable, here you've got how you want to use the drag component. So I've clicked on rotation, so therefore I'm able to rotate it. But if I wanted to slide it, I'll click on slide, but I can't slide it because the other 2 degrees of freedom are fixed, so I can't slide it. So it is mostly rotation. Okay, done. Now take your second lug. Like I said, first is keep it in green. Let us say if at all it becomes the solid. Okay, you somehow accidentally pressed it to solid, then you somehow pressed it to solid. What you can do is you can again just click on assembly, click on this component, it will again come back. Okay, the necessity for using it for the first time green is that you can just always work on it. Okay, now I clicked on assembly, axis and axis. Now this surface right click, and this surface, I did a left click, assembly, axis, and I'm not able to do the surface. I'll click escape again, assembly, surface. Okay, now it is both are sitting. Now you can press escape, use your drag. Okay, this component along its y-axis. I mean, you need not just precisely keep it in exact point, because when you do another assembly, it will by default has to sit on the exact place. Okay, so that is done. Now the third part you take is your connecting bar. Okay, connecting bar, first alignment. See, if you click here, you'll get another axis about this circle. Okay, we have removed a circle there, if you remember. So this axis should coincide with this axis. Okay, now again, this axis should be related to this axis. See, it moved on its own. Correct? But I think there is some error here. See, when it was supposed to sit, now you can't move any of it. Correct? It is not sitting properly. So we'll check an error, what the error is. You can also use your the usual tools what you have. Okay, the distancing tools to measure a distance between. So distance between this circle and one second, this okay. See, last night I had an error where the center rod was not connecting. It was actually for a distance. One second, I think the centers are wrong. Okay, so what I had to do, I had to modify this center bar length actually. Okay, which you guys would have done properly. So what you do, you just remove this, and let us say you want to modify this material. It is not fitting correctly. Just right click on this, open solid edge. It will come. See, my modification was 262, but the actual dimension is 254.42. 254.42. Okay, done. Now save this and close. Okay, now you drag and drop it. Okay, now you drag and drop it. That was my error. Okay, last time to last night, to convenience, I mean, I had an error of 0.8. To compensate for that, I used the what is that? The additional length. Okay, this center to this. Okay, now it fit perfectly. Is it? So, like, let's say it didn't quite set correctly. Let us say, but if you're able to move it, go to home, drag. Okay, this component on its y-axis. Yeah, it is still, the mobility is still there. Okay, this is how something you want. Okay, so we'll try to, that will sit on its own when you connect the next relation. Okay, just when you keep something, keep it in the home view so that it doesn't like this axis upon this axis. Again, it is in a different direction. Flip it. This surface or this surface. Okay. So now you take your isolator, okay, and then this axis on this axis, this axis on this axis, and this axis on this axis. Okay, now they sat, but I think the connecting rod dimensioning is not proper. Let us see. Now we want the upper surface, this, to touch this. Done. So it moved, and now you can press escape. Okay, so it is perfectly sitting. So if you can see, so that is perfectly aligned to it. Okay, now we'll take the second lug. This, right click here, right click here, and then surface, and then it was just chain. Okay, escape. This surface on this surface. Okay, I think this won't connect because the distance here is too much. Let us see. We'll take the isolator. This upon this. And this upon this. this upon this. Okay, the relation is conflicting because the connecting bar will not allow it to move. So what we'll do, we'll delete the connecting bar and then see what is wrong. Okay, I think the same mistake what I had yesterday night I was talking about. This axis upon this axis. Okay, now this surface on this surface. Sorry, assembly. Okay, now done. Escape. Now go to your front view, drag this component, as closely as possible. I think you can't drag that. Okay, not that one, this component. I need this component. Okay, here, and now click on your y-axis. Okay, click on your y-axis and try to bring it to this position. Okay, now I bought it. Go to your top view. Okay, so now like I said, the connecting rod, I don't know, for my distance it is showing I need to add 8.01 mm extra. So this distance and this distance, it is actually 8.01, the difference between these two and this. You then take distance between this and this. Okay, it is 255.03. What I'll do, I'll just go and edit this connecting rod. Open in Solid Edge, and for this I'll just add the extra distance what I wanted, plus 8.01, enter, and then save it. Come back to your assembly, select this, delete it. Now pull out your actual connecting bar, I mean the revised connecting bar. This alignment to this, and this one to this. Okay, now because the length are matching, now it got easily connected. Okay, I don't know why that difference is coming for me, probably because this length I would have varied, but if you have maintained on the relations correctly, that will not occur. Okay, just you guys try with the same dimension, and yet if this is not connecting, just add that 8.01. If that is an actual correction, we'll try to make it in the whole dimension sheet. Okay, now drag this component, okay, linear to your y direction and keep it somewhere in the middle, and done. Your assembly is done. There's an extra component, delete it. Select, delete. So there has been an update. One of your classmate with the dimensions as given in the dimension sheet, he has got perfect fit, everything sits correctly, unless you don't find it. So let us not make universal. So if you do work out exactly, probably I might have gone wrong while creating the parts. You don't do that, and then try to obtain it correctly.